You are about to be amazed and by meeting Jill Stefani Wagner. Jill, welcome to whatever the name of the program is. We don't have a name. I guess we should have a name the program contest. Welcome.
Hi, Eric. Thanks for having me.
We're glad to have you. We're honored, as a matter of fact. Look at that beautiful artwork behind you. This is exciting. You're going to show us some of that after a while?
Sure.
What are you going to do today? What are you going to do today?
Oh, what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk just a little bit about painting with intention, and then I'm going to do a vibrant watercolor underpainting for my pastel painting, using the opposite color of the actual local color of the scene.
That's exciting. Okay. So are you primarily, do you do some work that's only pastel, some work that's only watercolor? Do you do other mediums?
Tell us about it. I was originally a watercolorist for years, but I fell in love with pastel, and now I've also moved on to oil. But that's
you're doing it all.
Yeah, no more than that, though. I can't buy any more mediums.
Well, I know it can be confusing, but it's really great. It really, it's fun to see how one informs the other. You learn a lot about oil painting from watercolor painting and vice versa and so on.
Exactly. Especially pastel and oil are applied very similarly from dark to light. So I always say when I get really mad at my oil paints, I switch over to pastel for a couple of weeks, and then I get mad at that and go back and forth. And it makes each of the mediums work better for me from what I've learned from the other.
Jill, do we have anger issues?
I was going to say when I get pissed off at one. I know that's not right. No, we don't have anger issues. We have frustration issues.
Well, that's when we grow, right? That's when we grow.
Exactly.
Well, we're excited about having you here and watching you do this. We'll be right back. I'll give you a chance to set up your camera, and then we'll be back in a couple of seconds here. All right?
Okay.
All right. Our guest today, Jill Stefani Wagner, and I'm Eric Rhodes, publisher of Fine Art Connoisseur, Plein Air Magazine, and Streamline Art, which is a group which does just tons of things for artists and art collectors. We have magazines, Plein Air Magazine, Fine Art Connoisseur Magazine, newsletters, Realism Today, Watercolor Today, let's see, Plein Air Today, and Fine Art Today, which is more for collectors. We have Fine Art Connoisseur Magazine. Did I say that? Which is kind of our collector thing. We do collector trips. We do artist retreats. We do artist conventions. We do online virtual art conventions now. We do books and videos, tons of videos, over 600 of them. Art instruction. And the goal here is to inspire you, educate you, get you excited. And the goal of these, being here every single day at 12 noon, is to keep your head in the game, right? This is day number 261, which we started this when quarantines started, and we wanted to be here for you, keep you upbeat, keep you thinking about something else, give you some distraction, and because we want to keep your head in the right place. Because if your head's in the wrong place and you're getting worked up about everything going on in the world, you're not going to be any good for anybody else or for yourself. So that's why we're here. Okay, so let's see. We have some things to give away today. The winner of the Plein Air apron, Plein Air Magazine apron, is Jessica Alves from Virginia. Jessica, thumbs up and applause. Congratulations. You will love that Plein Air apron. I probably could show a picture of it to everybody else, and so they know what you won. Let's see if I can find one here real quickly. There's too many pictures. Yeah, here we go. And I had these made because, first off, I like the material. I like the blue jean material, and I wanted something with really, really deep pockets. And the one thing that drove me nuts about all other aprons is they're not adjustable. They have the fixed neck, and sometimes you want it low, sometimes you want it high, depending on your height. And so we made these adjustable, and they are kind of our most popular item because everybody loves a good apron. And mine has got a lot of paint all over it, just saying. All right. So if you want to win a prize today, we have prizes in the comments section. And what I mean by that is you will have an opportunity to win by putting a comment in there. We love it when you say where you're from. That's not required, but it is nice, especially if you're from outside the US, because we like to give our artists a little bit of positive information about people all over the world watching. And so that's kind of cool. So leave a comment. Today's prize is my book, Make More Money Selling Your Art. And you can get that on Amazon or from artmarketing.com. I should mention to you, let me just pull that up, see if I have a picture of that. Yes, I do. This book, I wrote it a couple of years ago because I was constantly getting questions from artists about where do I begin? What do I do? How do I start? What should I do first? This book is a kind of an answer to those questions. And there are literally hundreds of ideas in the book. And if you take one idea and just take that one idea and get behind that one idea, you'll see an increase in your sales. And if you take 2 or 3 ideas, but it doesn't have to be difficult. Just one idea will make a big difference. Now, I want to tell you guys that, hang on a second, let me get this off the screen. We are now moving in towards Christmas. We are now moving in towards more quarantine again, especially in certain areas of the country. So if you have time on your hands, what should you be doing with that time? I think this is a very important question. And imagine if you had looked back after being in quarantine for however many weeks or months you were in quarantine, if you had looked back and said, I wasted all that time because all I did was watch television and doom scroll on Facebook and I did nothing with that time. All right. But what if you were able to look back on that time and say, look, I did some planning. I worked on the business part of my art. If you're trying to sell your art, I worked on my marketing. I learned how to be a better artist. I learned something else. I've been taking courses online. I've always done this, but I've been taking courses online in a lot of different areas because things that are different from what you are used to doing will explode your brain in new areas. So I took a course on neuro-linguistic programming because I really wanted to understand that. I actually got a certification. So I'm a certified NLP person, whatever that means. I took a course on fashion design. I have no interest in fashion design, but it was on MasterClass. It was Diane von Furstenberg. And I thought, hey, I'll take it. I paid for it anyway because I had a membership. And I took a class on, I watched the political commentators because I wanted to learn about how they marketed things. There's a lot of different things you can do. I took a photography class from Annie Leibovitz, and that's a really cool thing. So there's a lot of things you could be doing with your time. But one thing that's really especially important, if you have the desire to be a successful full-time artist, if you're doing it now and you're successful and you want to get to a higher level, or if you're not doing it now and you want to kind of figure out where to go, the key to this is planning. Everything is about planning. It took me forever to learn this as an entrepreneur. When I started out, it was just about, just constantly going after ideas, and ideas are great. I'm an idea guy, but planning and systems will really rock your world, and mentoring under someone who really knows what they're doing will really rock your world. And so I lay out a plan. I had 4 days of Zoom calls. We normally do 4 days of meetings. I had 4 days of Zoom calls with my senior team, and we did our planning back in September for 2021. And that's, what do we want to do? What are our moonshots? We all need a moonshot. If you look at your life, let's say you're an artist and you've been an artist for, pick a number, 20 years, 30 years. You've been an artist for 20, 30 years, and you made about the same amount of money every year. Is that enough for you? Now, in my world, I don't look at it as it's not about money. It's about joy and satisfaction. Am I able to do the things that I want to do? And sometimes money is the opportunity to get you that. So we like to call them, my sister-in-law calls them fun tickets. And so do I have enough fun tickets to be able to get on an airplane and go and paint in Paris? Or do I have enough fun tickets to go to the plein air convention? Or do I have fun tickets to do things like that? So it doesn't have to be about money, but oftentimes it is. And as a result, you want to ask yourself, am I satisfied with having, kind of the same year every year, or do I want to figure out how to do a moonshot? A moonshot is instead of 10% annual growth, a moonshot is 1,000% annual growth. What can I do to get 10 times more of more success than what I've been doing? So the way to get a moonshot is, first off, you got to think way, way, way outside of your normal thinking patterns. I started to say outside of the box. And you also want to be thinking about your planning. So you start out with your goals in mind, and then you ask yourself, okay, now I've got a big, giant, whopping goal at the end of the year. How do I get to that big whopping goal? So then you start dreaming, and then you start putting it into pieces. And so we take those moonshots and we break them into monthly. Okay, what to get to a moonshot? If I wanted to increase something by 1,000%, if I wanted to 10x my business, how do I do that? Well, you can't repeat the same things that you've been doing because those things probably don't work for you. They might help you grow 10%, but how do you grow? So you've got to look at your marketing, your packaging, your everything you do, and ask yourself, is there a new way to get there? And then start brainstorming those ideas, break it into, okay, I've got to do this by this month, and I got to do this by, so break it backwards. The way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. Break it down backwards, and then break it into weekly goals, and even if you can, daily goals. Like if you've got a moonshot and that I have to bring in $300 every single day, no matter what, you will, if you focus on it, you'll find a way to do it. Now, hopefully it's not just guesswork. You've got tools in place and things in place that will help you do it. So think in terms of your moonshot. And so what I was going to say, I got way off track, but what I was going to say is use the time now, or use the time between Christmas and New Year's. What we all tend to do is it's like, okay, I'll set some goals on January 1st and I want to lose 30 pounds. And the problem is that goals without actions attached are just dreams. But goals with actions attached will actually happen if you read them all the time, if you follow them all the time, if you pay attention. So take your time, study marketing, get some of my books or videos or somebody else's, take a course, do something, and ask yourself, where do I really want to be? And sometimes moonshots are not something you can do in a year. Sometimes moonshots are a 5-year, you have to decide that. But you want to also ask yourself, all right, how can I do better than last year? How can I do a lot better than last year? We're experiencing inflation in America. I don't know if you've noticed, but going to the grocery store, everything is more expensive. Cars are more expensive. Houses are getting out of control, more expensive. That's inflation. The dollar lost 27% of its value in 2020. So that means there's 27% inflation. So if you make the same amount of money, you're actually making less money. So if you made $50,000 last year, if you make $50,000 next year, you're actually making less money. That money won't go as far. But if you say to yourself, well, I have to at least keep up with inflation. If we had 27% loss of value of the dollar, I've got to do at least that much better next year. And then, of course, how do you get to where you really want to be? How do you get to those dreams? And so, maybe I'll do a webinar or something on that. But it's at some point we need to be focusing on our goals, and that will really serve you well. And I'd love to help you with it. I possibly can. Anyway, enough about that. I digress sometimes. I don't know if you've noticed. Okay, a couple of things. First off, we're Streamline Art. If you go to streamlinepublishing.com and /everything, you'll see all the things that we offer: books, videos, newsletters, products, TV channels, artist retreats. There's tons of things. If you want to learn a little bit about art marketing, a couple of things for you. You can go to artmarketing.com, which is one of my blog sites. There's tons of things in there, and there's a lot in there about goal setting. If you listen to the Art Marketing podcast, lots of things in there for you. And also, it's at the end of the Plein Air podcast. I'm going to be launching another podcast here soon. Yes, I need more to do. Okay, couple other things. First off, Russia trip is almost sold out. If you're thinking about going with us, you need to get it done. PaintRussia.com. Go look at the talk about hitting a lifetime goal. It's been a lifetime goal for me to take a group. I've taken 2 collector groups to Russia. And this is the first time I've taken a painter group. And I wanted to do something where I took people inland to paint where Levitan and Shishkin and all those people painted, and to where they learned. I'd take them to the great art schools. And so I've been working on this trip really for about 5 or 7 years. I've got artists over there that are going to be joining us. You're going to meet artists in Russia. It's going to be really cool. Also have coming up the Plein Air Convention in Colorado, which is May 23rd through 27th. We think it's going to happen. We hope so. So you might want to check that out. A reminder that the $30,000 Plein Air Salon competition is going on, and you want to get your entries in by December 31st. You have a chance to win some big money, some small money, some money at all, some other prizes, and the cover of the magazine, some stories in the newsletters. There's a lot of different things. Last but not least, we have coming up in late January, Watercolor Live. And we have put together a world-class group of the top artists in the world. I mean, we had to really pull out the stops on our Rolodex, remember that word, to be able to put this kind of a thing together. Nothing like this has ever been done in the history of watercolor. This collective kind of a group. Virtual conference, it's online, it's inexpensive, and it's watercolorlive.com. 28th through 30th, it's 3 days, plus there's a 4th day, which is a beginner day. And it is going to be a ball. So check it out at Watercolor Live. Now, I got an email this morning, and this woman said, I didn't go to Realism Live, which is a virtual conference we did recently. We also did Plein Air Live earlier in the year. And she said, I didn't go because I watch your thing daily, and you're doing Artist Daily, and they're showing how to paint daily. And I didn't go because I figured it'd just be the same thing. And I just said, first off, we have a money back guarantee. If you watch the first day and you feel like you didn't get your entire money's worth in the first day, we'll refund your money because we want you to be that happy. But it's totally different. People can put in the comments how it's different, but there's interaction with other artists, a chance to make other friends. There's painting together. The videos are considerably different. First off, a lot of them are pre-produced and edited so that we're able to get a lot of data in. A lot of the demos are a lot longer than what we do on this show. And of course, there's a lot of other information, different kinds of information. So don't let that lock you out, because it will be really amazing. Every day we do this at 12 noon, but we also do a 3 p.m. And today we're doing Daniela Estona. It's called Creating an Elegant Still Life. And this is the video that you're going to get a chance to watch today at 3 p.m. and an interview with Daniela. And I went to Italy and shot this. I did 2 videos in Italy simultaneously. We did them in the same set. We set up in Daniel Graves' studio, which is a phenomenal studio. And Dan would do the mornings, and then she would do the afternoons. That way it was not like killing everybody to do 8-hour days. And this is one of the great instructors in the world. Daniela is, first off, she's so much fun. She's so exuberant. She's a little tiny bit of Italian accent in that English, but you'll learn a lot from her. She's one of the instructors at the Florence Academy, and you are going to really enjoy this. So tune in today at 3 p.m. to see her. Okay, so tomorrow our guest is David Largervan, and this is a little piece of David's work, and so you can tune in tomorrow for David Largervan. And I want to just say to our friends, Happy Hanukkah. Is this the second day, the first day? I think last night was the first candle, so tonight would be the second. So happy Hanukkah to everyone. And now let's get to our guest, Jill Stefani Wagner. You are a very patient woman.
I'm happy to be here. I have my assistant Tia on the camera because you wanted to take a look at my studio real quick. So this is the gallery side. I have lots of storage built in, and I keep.
Oh, what a great idea. So you made big doors and turned those big doors into your gallery.
Yeah, I'm down in the basement. Actually, this was my husband's man cave for a long time, and
Yeah.
little by little, I took it over, so he hardly noticed until now I own the whole thing. So I have
Yeah.
a whole bunch more storage back here and a bar, and then this is the work area on this side.
Oh, it's big. So do you bring customers down to see the gallery?
Oh yeah, definitely. I have 5 galleries that represent me in the Midwest, but I have a lot of people that actually come right to my studio.
I think I saw something about you being at a gallery. Was it in Indiana?
Oh yeah, I think I saw something about you too.
Well, well, okay. I just didn't want to make sure. I didn't want to mention it for sure in case I was wrong about that. But you're in Castle Gallery.
I am.
What a beautiful gallery. That's one of the
It's a
most
great
beautiful
gallery.
galleries in
Great
America.
people.
Yeah, really sweet. All right. So thank you for showing us your space. I'm going to let you get started because I talk too much. And so I'm going to put you on here so you can kind of get rolling.
One thing I wanted to talk about just for a minute is painting with intention. I owned an advertising agency for years and couldn't paint at all. So when I finally got back to it, I was so excited that I would just paint anything. I'd replicate photos, I'd go outside and paint, but I never had intention for what I was actually going to create. And I started thinking back to how I did projects in my advertising agency, and we would have a goal. We would have parameters we had to live within, and then we would have a goal that we were trying to achieve. So I thought, why won't that work for paintings as well? So what I started doing was a little program. Actually, this is the painting the photograph that I was interested in painting. It's a little valley river in Florida. And what I do every time I decide I'm going to paint something is I go through this process. First thing I say is, what about this scene that I'm looking at or this photo that I'm going to deal with really flips my switch? What is it that makes me say, I have to paint that piece? And what I do is I write it down. Usually not this big, just a little scribble on the side of my canvas or my paper. But what really gets me about this is the beautiful natural curves of the river coming down, and most especially the highlights of the grass in the sunlight. So I take that little note and I stick it on my board.
Jill, you also are a plein air painter. So will you go out and do studies of things like this?
Yeah, actually, I'm mostly a plein air painter now, but in the wintertime in Michigan, not so much.
Oh, come on. You need to
Although I
you
did
need
have
to
a
be
winter
braver.
painting in Plein Air magazine this month.
Yeah. You're, by the way, I should mention that you're on the faculty of the upcoming plein air convention.
Yes.
We're
I hope
excited.
it comes on. I'm so excited. I was heartbroken both times. It was canceled last year, but we're in a crazy time.
Yeah. Well, it's not our fault.
No, it's not. But when I do plein air work, I especially do this because everything changes so quick that you can forget what you were excited about. So if I keep these little notes to myself, it brings me back and reminds me, no, I'm not chasing that light, or, the ripples that are happening over here. This is what I was interested in. And the big thing for me is a focal point, whether I'm painting in the studio or painting outdoors or teaching in class. It's all about a focal point for me, because if you don't tell your viewer where to look, they're going to look where they want. And if there's something that is really making my heart sing, I want them to look at that. So I keep a little note of my focal point. So what I basically have is a little business plan, like you were talking about, Eric. You have to plan if you want to achieve something. You have to have a roadmap. If you don't know where you're going, you're not going to get there. So that's always part of my process. And what I'm going to show now is a watercolor painting that will vibrate underneath a pastel painting. And basically what we're going to do is use the color wheel to try and approximate kind of the opposite color of the local color that is going to be applied later. This is not perfection, but it gives you a start on beginning to have some color and structure before you actually lay the pastel in. So I'm going to start up with the sky, and we've got a kind of light aqua sky, which going up looks a little pink. And the big thing about this is that you have to stay in the right value. So if this is a real light shade, then I want to go up here to a real light shade and drop that in. Now watercolor notoriously dries lighter than what you're actually applying. So that's going to be pretty close to what I need. And also with watercolor, you start with the lights and move to the darks. So I'm going to try and find all my lights in this painting and approach them first before I start layering in the medium tones. So this greenish area up here is right about here. And if I come across, it's in the purple range. Now, since I know that something in the background that's green will turn bluish through the atmosphere and through atmospheric perspective, I'm actually going to go with a bit of a bluer purple. Again, I'm just a little bit more than that. I'm just looking for big shapes. No detail whatsoever. Now, as I come forward, those lighter shapes are also going to be warmer. So when I have a golden shape like that, I'm going to come across. Looks like a bluish color. Bluish purple. I'm just going to go ahead and black those areas in.
You guys have questions, you can post them in the comments section and I'll try to pass them along. Did you wet the paper before starting the painting?
I'm sorry?
Did you wet the paper before starting the painting?
No, I did not. This is UArt paper, which I love. And I just brush it on dry. And when I'm outside in the plein air situation, it dries really fast. So I just stick it in the sun.
What paper are you using? What paper?
Oh, it's called UArt, and this is 400 grade.
All right.
And I'm actually using the paper, although sometimes, and quite often actually, I like to use the board. But this is such a soft kind of image that I like to take my paper and tape it over a bunch of newspaper. I call it packing my paper. So when I draw my pastel across it, I get a real soft feeling, not super hard. And sometimes on board, you get a real hard edge or a real dark edge. So in this watercolor way of doing things, I prefer to use the soft approach to it.
You're getting a lot of questions about your color wheel. Is that a Munsell color wheel? And it's similar in the sense that you've got the variations on the hue and the chroma. And
yeah, it's not specifically a Munsell one, but what I liked about it was it shows from tints to values. You know, you have your two colors going around here, but what happens when you add white a little bit more? What happens when you add black or dark color a little bit more? And not many of the color wheels do that. So that was attractive to me, especially for my workshops and the way I teach this approach.
I'll put the name of it in Amazon. I just bought one.
Oh.
And it's called a Spectrum color wheel.
There you go. I couldn't remember.
they will have a surprise day where 800 or 900 of them will sell.
Yeah, I got to call up right away and ask for a commission on that.
Yeah, really, you should. And they have them available laminated, larger, smaller, posters, framed, all kinds of options.
Put in some of these.
We're boosting the economy with this program.
Glad to help. Okay, so getting to that river, which is one of the favorite things for me on this piece, I'm going to lay in, instead of blue, I'm going to lay in the opposite, which is orange. And
so would you do this if you were oil painting too? Would you lay in the opposite color underneath?
you know, I have not done that. Basically, because with pastel, part of the beauty of it is being able to layer colors on top of each other without actually mixing them. In oil paints, you kind of mix your colors. You don't have to depend on the color that's below it.
Well, a lot of people will do it. We'll put a reddish tone under a primarily greenish painting, you know, for the grass and so on. But it's interesting to take this approach. I might try this.
I actually do tend to use a toned underpainting for my oil paintings. Again, because a little of that sparkle shows through, but I've never actually done this on it. It might be an interesting thing to try.
Yeah. Well, maybe once you've tried it, you'll come back on and teach us how you did it.
Yeah, after I've done it a million times and it's not mistakes anymore. Okay. So, I'm
kind of liking it. I'm liking it like this. Can you show us your palette real quickly? Can you kind of hold it up?
You know what I'm using is relatively inexpensive Prang watercolor paints, which, you know, I think you can buy now for $10 or something.
Yeah.
These are actually ones I had from when I was little. It doesn't have to be really great quality watercolor because most of it's going to be covered up in the process.
Now, if you were doing it all watercolor painting, would you use the same watercolors?
No. I have
you have the real deal
of you know, professional.
Yeah, but for this purpose, makes sense. Saves money. You've got a pretty big audience today.
Great.
You're obviously very popular.
I don't know about that.
Well, you will be after today if you're not. You're a good teacher.
I'm going to put my darkest things in right now. My darkest shapes. And again, you can see there's no detail in this. It's basically shapes.
I'm going to just step in for those who just tuned in. I just got this question from India, and that is what she's doing is she's creating an underpainting in watercolor for a pastel. And she's using the color wheel because she wants to put the opposite color underneath what she's ultimately going to be using. So you're going to see her lay the opposite color on top. How'd I do?
You're a good student.
Yeah, well, if I were a good painter, I could be teaching this myself.
Okay, so this is the point I'd stop. And actually, this is the point very often where I'll be out plein air painting and somebody will look at the scene, look at my painting, and then go, "Oh, honey, how long have you been painting?" Because they think this is totally crazy, which it is. If you're out plein air painting, all you have to do is put this on the ground, let the sun hit it for a couple minutes, and it dries. But in the studio, I usually hit it with a hair dryer, which I'm not going to submit you to. I actually did another version, so I would be ready to go.
Oh, like a cooking show. I love it when people are prepared.
I'm a little obsessive in that way. That's why I like this idea of having this plan. You can see the way I changed the painting. Oh, I never did put up.
A little no-tan you did?
Yeah. So planning ahead has helped me. I throw away so many watercolors. I throw away so many oil paintings by not making decisions ahead of time. And I finally learned. I didn't want to take the time to do this when I was out plein air painting. It was just like a bother. And it changed everything when I started doing it.
So Peter in England is asking, how do you prevent watercolor from running when I paint my board? It's a much shallower angle to prevent this.
I don't really care about the watercolor dripping. Sometimes I'll dab it off, but it just adds to the energy of the underpainting because you're gonna put pastel over it anyway, and I don't want it to be so perfect. I'm open to it being a little more haphazard and, you know, a little more interesting.
Okay, I like getting close up on the painting like that. Thank you. So you're laying in some sky.
Very lightly, super light. You can always come back darker, but part of the technique and the value of this technique is that you can see through what's happened underneath.
Nice.
So I'm layering on a little bit darker blue at the top, and I'll feather that together. But still just be cognizant all the time that I don't want to fill the whole thing. And I can always come back. Right now I want to just black in my colors.
Yeah, you still got about 15 minutes, so you're doing well.
Cool.
You can get 2 or 3 done in that amount of time.
Oh yeah. Just whip them out.
So somebody is asking, what is the science behind putting the opposite color in the underpainting?
Well, as long as you're in the same value, you can put any 2 colors together, but especially colors that are complementary to each other, and they make a kind of vibration. Can you get real close to the?
And maybe you could just explain for some people who might not know that, what does it mean? What does it mean, complementary color?
Oh, a complementary color is basically the opposite on the color wheel. So if red is the color,
can we see the color wheel now?
Oh, sorry. If red is the color that you're working with, if you want to do the complement, it would be in the greens. If yellow is what you're working with and you want the complement, it's purple. You know, and there's variations of that because purple isn't just one color. Sometimes it's red violet. So that's why this wheel is really helpful. But even if I put 2 different colors in this blue that were similar colors of blue, they would vibrate a little bit too. Oops.
The concept is called color harmony.
I'm gonna bring you to my workshops.
Yeah. You haven't been able to do any workshops this year, have you?
No, all my workshops were canceled. Almost every single plein air festival I had on board was canceled. We did do a couple small ones at Paint Grand Traverse and a couple other places. Indiana had a couple that we did. But for the most part, I still plein air painted a lot. I just didn't do it in a business-like way. I explored on my own.
Yeah.
So I'm working down, oops, that's too dark. I'm working my way down this painting just to get some local color in place, and then I can take a step back and look at it.
Someone in the comments said complementary colors placed next to each other will intensify each color, both colors.
That's right. And it also keeps you from getting too precious, because if part of your business plan is to have these colors vibrate, then you can't overpaint them. I use all different kinds of pastels, and I basically paint with them. But you have to have the right edge going on them.
Okay, I'd like people chime in where you're watching from. I see India, a couple of people from India. See England, Minnesota, Blaine, Minnesota, Peoria. What brand of pastels do you use?
Oh my. If you talk to any pastelist, they'll tell you it's a sickness. You have to have so many different types of pastels, because some of them are harder, some of them are softer, some of them have different shapes, and there's just so many colors, and you just have to keep buying them all.
Just buy them all.
So my favorites are Sennelier, Terry Ludwig, Great American. Oh Lord! I first bought a set of Rembrandts when I first started, which is a medium set, and that was a good starter set if somebody's learning. And it's used usually early in the process, because with pastels you usually work lighter to darker.
Uh-huh. Yeah, buying stuff is a sickness, but it's sure a lot of fun. We have Italy, Canada, Quebec, San Diego, Netherlands, Spokane, San Diego, Oregon, Ohio, Kansas, New England.
Oh my.
Someone has a support group for art supply addiction.
Okay, I need that.
No, you don't. We need to support the art suppliers. If they don't stay in business, we don't stay in business.
I agree. And they are so generous. I was really lucky this year to win quite a few awards in pastel contests, because I wasn't able to be much in my galleries or other places, so I applied to a lot of exhibitions and was super lucky to win a whole bunch more pastels. So I swear to God, I have at least 10,000 pastels.
Yeah. Well, you just have to paint more.
Yeah, not in my lifetime. It won't. It's like not possible. I'm going to go in and reestablish my darks. But all of these, I'm not fully covering the paper. This was actually a way of working that let me loosen up a little. I can tend to get too tight.
Someone's asking if you use an air purifier.
I do. I don't have it on right now because I thought
the noise.
I've got a HEPA filter behind my easel. One of the things I do too while I'm painting is I keep separate boxes with my warm and cool colors in, so that I can quickly see in comparison which colors fall on the cooler side and which fall on the
So you're
the
pulling
warmer
out
side.
you're pulling out the colors in advance that you're likely to use.
Yeah, actually I did because I didn't want to be searching around on camera for you guys, but also I did a I did a practice painting because, you know,
Because
and
you're a
I just left,
professional.
and I just left them out. Every once in a while, I dump everything that's in my hand out and put them in the right box.
So you've got about 10 minutes, just so you know.
Oh, well, I definitely won't get done, but you can, hitting my focal point.
Maybe you can show us the practice painting when you're done.
Okay. Each one comes out completely different.
Of course.
And when I'm doing this, I'm always thinking, how can I use the lines of the land to move toward my focal point so that somebody will see that that's the place that I want them to look at.
Okay. Are you a Girl Scout? Because somebody said that you must have been. You're so prepared.
Yes, I was a Girl Scout, and I was in junior achievement. But you know, I think what it's really based on is the fact that I ran my own advertising agency for so long, and you don't stay in business very long if you're not prepared.
Oh boy, that's so true. I was in junior achievement too.
We were both the nerdy ones in school. But
Yeah, well, you know, the
good
nerds
training.
rule the world today. So
There you go.
just saying. I'm a proud nerd.
Another thing I do, which is kind of obsessive, if we're going to talk about obsessiveness, I save the pastel dust and the little crumbles that come off my pastels, and I save them by color. So I make these really cool pastels. This is a bunch of dust from greens, but it's a whole bunch of greens in there.
How do you collect? You collect it out of your air filter, or how do you do it?
No. When I break pastels in half, they often, you know, shatter because it's just part of what we deal with. And I just collect all that till I have a good bunch, and then I put just a smudge of water in it because pastel has the least amount of binder of any medium, so it is almost pure pigment, and that's what part of the glory of it is. It's like painting, you know, with pure color. So you can save those pieces and crunch them up with a pestle and mortar, and if you smush them down enough, you can't leave big chunks in there. If you put just a little tiny bit of water with that, you can create a new pastel. Like, you know, I don't have enough already. But,
yeah. Do you have so you have pastel molds?
No, you just roll them in a little ball.
Really?
You just pick up, and I'm talking you very, very little
Very
bit
cool.
of water, and you roll them into a little, I was going to say doobie, not that.
You are from Michigan. Let's see. That was legalized in Ann Arbor way before anybody else.
Yeah.
Okay, we got the drift. So you have been dubbed by Ronna Katz in the comments as the Martha Stewart of pastels.
Oh God, is that a compliment or
That's a compliment,
insult?
mostly. Stay out of prison.
I don't do any of that inside trading stuff. Okay, so now I have, no, I don't have this done. I have most of my first layer down. I'm going to see this is kind of bluish.
Somebody in the comments said we need t-shirts, so we need to know what they need to say. Somebody said the other day they need an Eric bobblehead. That would be pretty scary.
Oh, I think that's a great idea.
It'd be pretty scary. My wife would give me a hard time. She'd say, okay, your ego's a little bit out of control. You got 30 portraits of yourself hanging around the house. Now this.
That is pretty cool that you've had all these great artists do portraits of you.
Well,
I'm sure more
now
than
2 or 3 of
anybody.
them are gone, so I'm really thankful. The only one, there was one that was scheduled that never got done, and that was Raymond Kinsler. And I went in twice to his studio in New York, and he talked the whole time, and which was fabulous because his stories are so wonderful. But he took some photos and then was going to do a study, but we never got it done. So that's one regret I have, is not getting that one done. And I have them all except for one. So I'm pretty lucky.
That's got to be a world record or something. For how
I don't
many?
know. There's somebody said that what's the museum in New York, in Smithsonian, the portrait or
Yeah,
the
the portrait gallery.
portrait gallery. Somebody said I should contact them. I don't know.
It'd be a great show.
Well, it'd be kind of weird. Same, one subject. That's really looking good.
I'm usually stepping back all the time. I feel a little bit hindered that I can't do that right now.
Yeah.
It's looking pretty colorful to me.
So we're at about the 4-minute mark, just so you know. So we want to make sure that there's a chance for you to maybe show us the finished one that you did and maybe come back on camera. So you can stop when you decide. This might be a good point, or you might want to keep going.
Even though I know some of this is green and or warm green, since it's going back in the distance, I also know that it's going to turn bluer. So I'm trying to tone down some of this back here so it fades into the distance.
Is this painter this paper is toothy? Is it? It's not sanded paper, is it?
It is sanded paper.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd say as sanded paper goes, it's probably like middle of the road. UArt is great because it comes in all different levels of sanded. I think from 600 to maybe 200. This is 400. So this obviously has a lot more to, oh, that's too dark. Whenever I'm painting, I'm constantly going darker or lighter, lighter, smaller or bigger, warmer or cooler. Is a constant kind of comparison that goes on every minute. So that's kind of wild and scary. It's still got quite a ways to go.
Somebody just suggested we need a hat that says "Art got me through 2020." I'll make it if you'll buy it. By the time I get them done, 2020 will be over. Okay, Jill, we're going to have to tell you to put the pastel down. You did great.
There's one that I finished more. I don't know if it's done or not, but
let's get a close-up of that,
ways to go.
Oh yeah, so you can see, yeah, so scan back and forth between the two so we can get a feel for where this one is, right? So still big shapes. Now let's move over to the next one. Yeah, so much more refined. Well, that's just beautiful. And those underpaintings showing through, very subtle, but they do make a difference.
Yeah, if you get, it's hard to get real close, but the red shining through here and the oranges coming through. This one, I think I went too far. I'd like to be somewhere between these two.
Okay, terrific.
Like I need to be snapping my hand with a ruler all the time.
Okay.
Stop.
Show us a little bit more of your studio real quickly, just because some people may have just tuned in late. Are we handheld with the camera? Looks like it.
Yeah, my wonderful assistant Tia is
All right.
doing what
Very
she
nice.
can. This
Very nice.
is my computer area where I do all the business. I work on the concept of multiple streams of income. So I sell a lot of prints to art consultants and hospitals, restaurants, things like that, of paintings that I've already sold. So I do a lot with that. And then this is kind of the area where when I bring people into my studio, I show them work. And
I'm going to have to
lots of storage.
I'm going to have to interview you for my art marketing course, because you being a former marketer would be brilliant.
I'm a big component. Proponent of advertising, marketing. I try to do for myself exactly what I told my clients to do in advertising, which is get yourself out there.
So let me ask you a couple
Especially when
questions about that real quickly, because I think this is a great topic. A lot of artists feel like they're selling out if they're advertising. How do you overcome that feeling?
I do notice that, and I think they feel not only that they're selling out, but they're bragging because they don't come from a marketing background. But the point is, do you think somebody's going to find you alone in your studio? It's not like the old days where the galleries paid for artists to paint and then promoted them. Right now, galleries are retail, and if they don't sell your painting off the wall, they're not going to support you. So I advertise in Plein Air Magazine and Fine Art Connoisseur and some other locations. And I do
you might as well tell you now, there are no other locations.
Well, I was nice enough to avoid saying them. But I do Facebook a lot and Instagram, and I did Twitter for a while, and I do newsletters and art alerts. And I'd say my marketing is at least 40% of the 50 to 60 hours a week that I spend on art.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Dealing with my galleries and entering shows, that's all marketing too.
Yeah, so there's a couple of concepts that I'd like you to address real quickly. One is not having everything resting on a single pillar, right? The idea that if you're just doing one thing, if that one thing fails, you fail. What are your thoughts on that?
Are you talking about in marketing?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Because I do that as well in my work.
Right.
But yeah, I think you have to really do some research on who your market is. I was always in Plein Air Magazine, but then I decided that my market might be a little more the collectors from the Fine Art Connoisseur area. So I split my advertising between the two. And, you know, I realize where my galleries are important. It's the ones that sell the best tend to be in resort areas where people have a lot of discretionary income. You have to think it through. You can't just want something because it's cool or because that's what you want. You need to think about who's your prospective client and go where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jill, this has been fascinating. Thank you for doing this for us today. I want everybody to visit jillwagnerart.com and buy something, buy a print or buy a painting for Christmas. We have one of the things we did a survey at the Plein Air Convention one year. You were probably there. Were you in Tucson?
Yes.
Okay, so we had 1,000 people in the room, and I said, okay, you're all plein air painters. How many of you bought one painting from someone else this year? And every hand went up. And I said, keep your hand up if you bought two. And most hands stayed up. And, you know, and then it started going down at 5 or 6. But one of the things we're realizing is that collectors are becoming painters, and painters have been collectors. And so the people at Plein Air Easton told us that a lot of the people who have come year after year after year to observe got so into it that they actually started painting. So now they're buying paintings and they're making paintings. So I think that's pretty cool.
It's like crossing.
Yeah. Well, Jill, you were fabulous. Thank you for being on today. Thumbs up and applause for Jill. And we will have you back. And hang on. I'll be back to you in a minute and chat with you after we go off the air.
Thanks so much, Eric. And Allie, what a wonderful woman she is.
Oh,
Thank you both. I really appreciate being invited.
Allie is amazing. She runs that part of my life. I have two amazing women in my life that basically keep me under control. Thankfully, I would be on the streets homeless without those two. All right, we'll see you soon. Okay, what a great demo. That was fabulous. Jill Stefani Wagner. I'm Eric Rhodes, and thank you for tuning in. I just want to play something for you real quickly. We're probably a little over, and we might have gotten cut off on a couple of things. But first off, happy Hanukkah. Tomorrow, David Largevan is going to be demoing. It looks like acrylic. We'll find out more about that. And check this out.
Join the world for Watercolor Live, the ultimate watercolor learning event, January 27th to 30th. 4 days of online art lessons from top master watercolor artists from around the globe. Learn to paint nature, people, cityscapes, flowers, and more. Become a better artist. Click the link to learn more and get our free ebook, 101 Watercolor Secrets from the Top Masters.
And of course, you want to get signed up soon before the price goes up. That's watercolorlive.com. Thank you again to Jill. Thank you for watching today. Remember, it's time to start thinking about your goals and working on 2021. A lot of artists have had a really good year in 2020, surprisingly. And we, of course, don't know what's around the corner, but stay positive, stay upbeat. Don't let it bring you down. You know, what did they say? Don't let the bastards get you down. Did I say that? My mother is going to be all over me for that. All right. Thank you for being here today. I'm Eric Rhodes, publisher of Fine Art Connoisseur and Plein Air Magazine and Streamline Art. Take care. Bye-bye.